Hey everyone, welcome back to AFTV and a very special tactical insight show because Graham and I have a North London derby victory. 3 goals, 3 points to break down. It's always a pleasure. I know you love getting your digs out on Spurs, even when we're not playing them, so you're going to have all the fun in the world in this next half hour. Graham, welcome.
Welcome, mate. Still buzzing.
Yeah, I mean, rightly so, and we should be all the way through to Liverpool, really.
Yeah, nothing quite beats victory in a North London derby, the feeling of winning a North London derby for not only fans but players as well. I saw that Bukayo Saka tweeted on Saturday night, it's our patch, or North London is ours, or words to that effect. And one Tottenham fan immediately responded with, you were only 13 the last time you finished above us. I mean, history has never been Tottenham's strong point, so I just have to correct him. He was actually nearly 15, but he was also nearly 7 the last time they won a trophy. And his dad wasn't even born the last time they won the league. So, look, what did we learn on Saturday? James, I thought we learned that Arsenal are actually pretty good. Yeah. And Tottenham are actually shit.
Oh, wow. There we go. That's a level of analysis we're going to give.
Look, listen, more seriously, 2 contrasting styles. I thought the game pretty much played out how I thought it would play out. Arsenal literally trying to play positional football, control the game. Spurs sitting deep. In fact, I think they sat far deeper than what even I expected, with 9 behind the ball in a 5-4-1 and trying to play counter-attack. I think the 2 things I like about Arsenal this year, before we get into it, are that basically the way we're controlling games. Ever since the start of the season, the way we've been able to control games and maintain pressure in games with sort of pass and move, players comfortable rotating up the pitch. We have we're going to talk about today the tactically way we adjusted the way Spurs played. We played like a 2-3-5 on Saturday, so we have our 2 centre halves. We had 3 midfielders for control, then we got 5 attacking lanes. And that's the way we sort of like keep teams pinned in, squeeze them when they try and get out. Admittedly, Spurs got out a few times on Saturday, but it caused us some anxiety. And towards the end of the first half, Spurs, when they got back in the game, rightfully deserved penalty for a foul by Gabriel. Kane, as you sticks it away, doesn't he? He scores 50% of his goals now in North London derbies from penalties. But we were under the cosh a bit, but you know, the same result as last year, but I think the difference between this year and last year was, I think last year, had we gone in 1-1 at half time, we might not have won that game, but we're dealing better this year when we respond to adversity. Yeah. And we came out, reset, I think Arteta reset it at half time. We came out, tactically tweaked it slightly, which we're going to talk about, and we got the second goal, and I think in the end we were deserved winners. Yep,
I completely agree. And the dominance is reflected in the match stats. You sent these all through to me. I knew we were dominant in the game. I knew we were by far the better team and deserved the win. But some of these are fairly staggering. 65% possession to their 35. Okay, that can happen, especially when they had a man sent off. 22 shots to their 7. 9 on target for us to their 3. 22 open play shots to their 1 all game. In terms of other match stats, we completed 523 passes to their 245. We had 82 final third entries to their 23, 45 zone 14 touches to their 6, and an XG of 2.3 to their 1.4. And if you thought that wasn't enough, Graham even sent through these stats around their territory. 324 final third touches to their 84. In terms of touches within 35 yards of the goal, we had 59 to their 18, and we also had 42 touches in the box to their 14. I mean, the numbers are so one-sided, aren't they?
It is, and it just shows the way the 2 teams are now, the 2 contrasting styles. The way Arsenal try and control games now and literally pin teams back. Yeah. For Tottenham to really, the way Tottenham play, it almost has to be like the perfect game. Yeah. Because literally what they do is they concede space and they rely on just getting everybody behind the ball and try and sort of like, they play sort of percentage football. They're going to allow you to have shots from outside the box because they recognise that that's probably a lower percentage of success. They try and block off you through the middle. What they did on Saturday, and that they played a very narrow 5-4-1, so the space was always out wide when Thomas Partey got the ball. They didn't press at all. Thomas Partey literally was driving the ball forward, picking the ball up and running with the ball, and they were allowing him to run, and they were just setting their shape, and they were trying to block us through the middle, trying to stop the passes going into the half spaces. And as a result, we were trying to get it out wide to our wingers to get them one-on-one with their wing-backs. So we had like Saka against Perisic or Martinelli against Emerson Royale.
Well, why don't we illustrate that, as you're saying, actually? Why don't we illustrate that in... We've got the starting 11s here. Okay, so no surprises really in terms of Arsenal's starting 11. In terms of Tottenham's, again, I mean, Richarlison comes in for Kulusevski. I wondered whether he might start.
James, I think Kulusevski was a big miss for them.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I think he's a top quality player and he offers them something offensively. Richarlison's a different type of player, but I think he was a big miss for them. But as you can see, that's the shape there, James. We're in our 4-3-3. We've got the two number 8s who are either side of Partey, who play in the left and right half space. We've got Martinelli and Saka hugging the touchline for width and Jesus through the middle. But what we've seen this season, as we've seen with these two number 8s, Xhaka and Odegaard, is the way that they are able to sort of pick up these pockets of space on either side. And there we are going into our shape against Tottenham. If you stop it there, you notice this is quite not incidental we've done this, because this is literally the way Tottenham defended in that first half. They literally, as you can see there, they're almost like, I think they figured, because we're going to have 5 lanes of attack, they're going to have 5 defenders.
Sure.
So you can see there they've got the wing backs, Emerson Royal on the right and Perisic on the left, defending literally deep, and their 3 centre halves literally hogging the box. They literally had a 5, and then they got their 4, Richarlison and Song coming back in a 4, James, to defend, to try and stop those passes into the half spaces. Song doubling up on Saka out wide, and Richarlison coming back to assist Emerson Royal on the other side. Now, crucial here, I think, we're going to talk about this today, is the performance of Ben White. Yeah. And I think Ben White's performances this season have gone slightly under the radar, how good he's been.
I agree.
Not only defensively, but offensively. And he had 2 distinct roles in this game on Saturday, James, which we're going to talk about. And the first half, that was the position he took. So generally, this is almost like the average match positions, I think, that we saw quite a lot in the game. Saliba, the slightly furthest back of our 2 centre-halves. Gabriel slightly forward. Partey there in the middle there with Zinchenko inverted, and then White inverted. But coming up, he's almost like playing as a support pass for Saka.
Yeah.
So when Saka got up, the ball went out wide to Saka, and you had Song and Perisic doubling up on him, he was available for a support pass all the time. And that's the way we played it in the first half. White wasn't overlapping, making us 6 lanes up high. He was sitting back in that position. So what we saw was, and this led to our first goal, James, is when the ball went out to Saka, you've got Tottenham now back defending with 5 in the box, 4 outside. The space opens up, as we see here, and Saka knocks it back.
So what I've done here is I've moved everyone to where they are, because the beauty of Arsenal's system is the fluidity. So what we've got here is this time Jesus is the widest player. Martinelli's found himself in his position, and Xhaka is where you'd expect him to be in the box. But otherwise, the principles are the same. It's the 2-3-5. Even in that move, and the understanding and the intelligence to alternate like that is brilliant. And you're absolutely right. I mean, you talk us through this. So Saka gives it back to White.
Saka gives back to White. If you stop it there now, Partey has come forward. Now, for somebody from 25 yards to beat a goalkeeper of Lloris's ability, it's got to be almost like a perfect strike. And I think Spurs sort of like say low percentage chance of they're going to score from there. But Partey, they say he's practicing this week and last week in training this. He puts an absolute screamer into Lloris's top left-hand corner. Or right-hand corner, sorry. His right-hand corner. No, his left-hand corner.
His left-hand corner?
Yeah, our right-hand side, yeah.
Right,
So it was a brilliant strike, and it becomes really because they've given us space in front of their line of 5 and line of 4. He hits an absolutely unbelievable shot, and it gives us the lead.
Well, I mean, we needed something like that, because I wanted to just highlight something here. So this comes from The Analyst, and they basically look at how reliant is each team on crosses for box entries. I want to just highlight very quickly where Arsenal are in this. We'll do it in green. They're down here, 28%, the lowest in the Premier League. They are the least reliant on crosses in terms of actually getting into the box. Now, what was so interesting about this game is when you actually look at Arsenal's pass map versus Spurs, and this comes from StatZone. I mean, you can kind of very clearly see, if I'm not to give credit to Spurs, but especially when they had 11 men, they were kind of shielding that outside of the penalty area. I mean, you can see it. Let's do it in a, what colour have we not used? Let's do it in a yellow. You can kind of see how they did quite well to guard that area, and actually it was going to take something like a strike from Thomas Partey, to basically just say, all right, well, I'm going to have to put this in from distance. And when you look at Man City, and I mentioned this on the watch along, and I mentioned this actually in a Tactical Insight show very recently, when you look at Man City, they have, for all the brilliance of their football and their probing and the way they break teams down and the retention of the ball, they score a lot of goals from set pieces and they score a lot of goals from outside the box. I think 3 of the last 4 Premier League seasons, they've scored the most goals from outside the box. Your Rodris, your Cancelos, De Bruyne's, Bernardo Silva, they can all put it in from distance, because when teams drop deep, they don't want to concede that space around the box, they don't want to give you that time, you're going to have to just, all right, put it in from 25 yards. And Arsenal developing that trait, whether we do from now on, we'll see. But we've seen Odegaard's been able to score a couple from outside the box. We've seen Partey now do it. I think that's a really important thing for Arsenal to be able to do.
Yeah, I think Conte would have been aware of the fact that Arsenal probably in the past haven't shot enough.
Yeah. And
probably he would have told his players, just defend the box, sit deep, because they'll try and walk it in, try and create the perfect goal. So we're going to let them have the ball outside the box. If they want to take a shot, take a shot. I think that would probably a definite tactic that I think he probably employed. But we have been starting to shoot more lately. Vieira at Brentford, for example.
Exactly. That's a great one, yeah.
Did take a couple of shots in this game. I think the fact that we recognised that they were sitting so deep, we were prepared to take shots. The other thing I noticed in this game is sometimes when you look at the way teams are playing against you, it tells you a lot about your weaknesses. I think we were deliberately targeting their 2 wing-backs. We saw Emerson Royal as their weak link on one side, and Martinelli gave him a real hard time, particularly in the second half. And also Perisic, obviously, although he's a great player, is not, and he has played wing back, don't get me wrong, but I would never thought of him as a defensive player. I was thinking more of as an attacking wide player. But and the ball was going to Saka a lot, so we were sort of like, because they were so narrow in this 5-4-1, either taking shots or trying to get the ball out wide, rotating up high. Because what you get with those players up the top, there, even Xhaka was in the centre forward role sometimes.
Yeah, he was.
They're so comfortable, those players, of going in different. They know how to rotate, when to rotate. It's really good and fluid the way we move up high.
I agree. Talk to me about Thomas Partey's performance. We talked about his goal, but he was one that you wanted to pick out. We'll go to his graphics and his stats in a sec.
I did actually. Before we get on to, we're going to talk also about Ben White's role in the second goal and how we tweeted at half time. I thought this game showed me why we need Thomas Partey, why we can't afford to lose Thomas Partey. I think what we have seen when we collapsed at the back end of last season was how missed he was. Yeah. Now, his performance on Saturday, his pass completion rate was really high, James, because I think Spurs weren't pressing. But I think it was more than that. It was almost like the way we talked about the final third entries were high for us. He's that one player who's able to disguise a pass and knock in a final third entry pass. He's able to sort of like open teams up, the way he disguises a pass. He controls the tempo, the rhythm of the way we play. And if you look at his stats there...
95% pass completion, 7 ball recoveries, 3 interceptions, 3 shots. Yeah. That's just a handful of stats.
Well, it's only a handful of stats, so it doesn't tell you what the point I was trying to make, actually. He was very good at ball recoveries, breaking up the play when they did try to get out. But he took the shots, as we said. But I think what, for me, it was, he's the one player in our midfield who's able to sort of play a real quality final third entry pass. And that's what he did a lot on Saturday. He was running that midfield. I don't think, when I look at our team at the moment, we have added depth this year in certain positions. There's 2 players who I think that we've struggled to replace because of the roles they play in the team. One is Thomas Partey and one's Gabriel Jesus. I know Nketiah is a good backup, but I don't think he can quite do what Jesus does. And we saw it again on Saturday. But we just can't, we've got to keep Thomas Partey fit. Yeah. And I like the fact that he took him off after 70 minutes or so on Saturday, because I don't want to see him continue playing 90 minutes and run the risk of an injury. I just thought that he was my man of the match. It was tough between him and, so many good Arsenal performances.
Yeah, Xhaka fantastic, Jesus, Martinelli.
What redemption for Granit Xhaka again. Another brilliant performance. Saliba pushed him close. I think we're going to talk about Saliba today. But for me, Thomas Partey embodied everything good about us. He controlled that midfield. I thought Conte really sort of like struggled really tactically against Arteta. It seems strange, you know. You think of Arteta is almost like the rookie manager. Conte, this elite manager, won titles. But even I could see he was getting overloaded in midfield. They played a double pivot of Højbjerg and Bentancur, who were continually getting overloaded in there. I think in hindsight, would he have changed the way he set up Conte and maybe gone 3-5-2, played the extra man in midfield? Because we were overloading through their midfield quite comfortably and getting into the out wide or into the half spaces, even though he was defending on a 5-4-1. But yeah, Thomas Partey, absolutely outstanding performance.
And you know, his importance is clear to see here. You sent these through, and you're right. You know, 29 games with 17 without him, 21 wins to 8, 2 draws to 1, and we've even lost more games in those 17 without him than we have in the 29 with him. And then you go across one more, 2.3 points per game with Partey to 1.5 without, a 72% win percentage, 2.1 goals per game to 1.4, and only 1 goal conceded per game to the 1.6 without him. The stats are very clear. It's very clear. With Thomas Partey,
he's absolutely crucial
Arsenal are a better team.
We've got to look after this player, almost like wrap him in cotton wool, haven't we?
Well, his injury record,
our spine, Saliba, Partey and Jesus, all of a sudden that spine's looking unbelievably strong, isn't it? And those 3 players are crucial for Arsenal.
Well, let's talk about William Saliba, who was fantastic as well. And again, we can't go through every stat, but these are just some that stood out. 77 touches, 70 passes, 11 recoveries, 7 clearances. There were more that he ranked first in the game. He dominated in so many areas of the match, and he was crucial.
He cruised through.
He really did.
He was
driving outside of the 6-yard box with the ball.
Imperious he was. James. I think nutmegs on Tottenham players in both boxes in dealing with the fans. I just think we've got to tie this guy down now. He's got 2 years left on his deal. You know, I know Arsenal have been over the last year trying to get their finances better, the way they do deals, but they've just got to give him what he deserves, almost like the earth, to keep him, because when he goes to that World Cup at the end of the year and he plays for France, as he will stand out in that World Cup, and then you're going to have all those top clubs circling around him. And I think we've got to tie this guy down.
Well, less than 2 years on his deal.
The thing I loved in less than 2 years, what I loved on Saturday was the times that they did get out Tottenham, and they did threaten towards the back end of that first half. Once they got back level, they had a period where they were, we were a little bit rocky for 10 minutes. But he was the one dealing with all their transitions. He was back, as I say, he was back in the 2 with Gabriel, and he was the one who just stepped across. He's so assured. He just understands position. He just knows how. He's calm. That's the thing I love about him. He's calm. The way he starts the attacks. He's not only a proper defender. He's a real Rolls-Royce footballer because he's good on the ball and he's so calm, assured. I think he had an absolutely outstanding game.
I know we're rightly so, because it's AFTV and because Arsenal was so good. We're rightly focusing on everything Arsenal did really, really well. But I think to give you more credit to Saliba's performance, I think it's only right that we talk on the things Spurs did actually do quite well, especially in that first 45 when we got the goal. They settled down on the ball a little better. But also, I felt the counter-attack was actually always on for them. Yeah. And in fairness, whether it be Arsenal and Gabriel and Saliba dealing with it well, or Son not getting quite the right pass, or Richarlison, whoever it was, something kind of broke down for them on the counter. But that threat was always there, and Saliba was still able to largely deal with it, better in the second half than the first half. What I liked about the second half was, especially when Kane put that ball in behind to Bentancur, he's so quick to get across, as you mentioned, and cover.
He recognises danger,
he does. And he defends on his feet. And what I mean by that is, a lot of defenders go to ground because, they're reaching to get there, or they're kind of last ditch and they're trying to really get a bit of power behind or whatever. But he just goes kind of full body in, and he defends as almost with his whole body, if that makes sense.
As a unit.
He does. If that makes sense.
I'm not criticising Gabriel, but he did dive in a little bit
the penalty was poor.
Richarlison.
We agree it was a penalty, right?
Definitely a penalty. I think Anthony Taylor took a lot of criticism on Saturday. We're going to talk about the red card, but I thought he generally had a reasonable game.
I thought he had a good game.
Tried to keep the game flowing. He got the penalty decision right.
Yeah.
And I thought he had a reasonable game. But Saliba, for me, people were saying this is going to be his first real test up against Harry Kane. I thought that he took care of Harry Kane absolutely superbly, and Harry Kane was almost like in his pocket.
And Son, whoever it was.
I thought Song played more as a wing back. That's the funny thing about the way Conte set them up. But when Song did get forward, but generally I thought Saliba was calm, assured, and not fazed by Kane or Song. And he's how old is this guy, James?
21, I think.
21.
Yeah.
What's he going to be when he's 24, 25?
Well, listen, I know.
It's unbelievable.
I know. He really is an unbelievable player. We'll talk about the penalty very briefly. We agree. Penalty. Red card. It was for me. I kind of understand why, if it weren't given a red, I wouldn't be completely outraged by it. It's kind of like it's a dark orange for me. Where are you with it?
Look, I think he gave the referee a decision to make.
Yeah. Which is what I said about the Cedric
and
thing.
I think the letter of the law is excessive force.
Yeah.
And you could argue it was excessive force. He wasn't even looking at the ball.
Yeah.
And I think it was really the reason why Emerson Royale made that challenge was because he was given the right runaround by Martinelli.
Yeah.
And I just think he wanted to put one on him. And that's what I feel.
Do you think the referee recognised that? Because
the referee, I think, looked at the pain that Martinelli was in. Sometimes referees, the good referees, don't actually rush to make a decision. They literally sort of like take a few seconds, think about it, look at the player, and decide whether they think it was excessive force. I think that's why he gave it. I think he recognised it was excessive force.
So this is where I am with it. I don't think. Okay, right. The studs are high, and they go to the side of his leg and kind of scrape down. That's always looks bad, especially in slow motion. I think watching it live, I didn't think there was anything overly aggressive about it. What I thought was, it was such a lazy tackle from Emerson. He definitely wasn't even trying to get the ball. He was trying to just bring him down, tactical foul, maybe take a yellow, get on with life. And actually the referee recognised that as that was reckless because you weren't even trying to win the ball.
He didn't need to make that challenge because Martinelli was going back towards his goal.
If it looked a more honest attempt to win the ball, I think he maybe gets away with that. But it didn't look at all like that. And so the ref went, no, you're not trying to win it. You've gone down on him horribly there. It's a red.
Well, I think he went down the side of his shin.
Yeah.
And excessively, and I think that's why he gave it. Look, he gave the referee a decision to make. I thought it was probably bordering between yellow and red. A lot of people said to me they thought it was red. Alan Shearer on Match of the Day thought it was red. Yeah. So, but I think the thing is, this is really taking it away from the Arsenal performance because we talked about that up to half time. They got back to 1-1. When we came out second half, I think Mikel Arteta changed that game, the way we set up second half. We talked about the performance of Ben White. We reset at half time. We were playing this 2-3-5 first half, but we went 2-2-6 second half. Ben White changed the way, he literally changed the game for me. And that was, I think Arteta got into the players at half time, reset and said, you know what, Son and Perisic are defending 2-on-1 against Saka. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get, when the ball goes out to that right hand side, Ben White, you're going to go on that overlap. You're going to go on that overlap and take away one of those players, which he did. So we're now attacking in a 2-2-6. We've got 6 lanes up high now. That means that one of Song or Perisic has got to follow Ben White. That creates a space for Saka to come on the inside. He gets his shot away, and Lloris, not his finest moment, spills it. But Gabriel Jesus is, if nothing else, the goal poacher now. He just pokes it in. And then there was a moment after that, about 4 or 5 minutes later, where once again we worked that same situation, James. We had 6 lanes up top. Ben White goes on the outside again, gets the cross in, and Jesus really should have buried that header and put the game out of sight long before Emerson Royale made his challenge. I think we also need to focus, and we talked about Arsenal's numbers today. Look at Spurs' numbers. 1 shot at goal and open play in that game. I think Kane had something like 1 touch in the box apart from his penalty, and Song had 2 touches in the box. So they offered nothing, Spurs, going forward.
I agree.
And I think that the Arteta tweak at half-time caught Conte out. We went for it second half, we reset, and we pushed another player up high. We were brave in that game, James. Tottenham had no courage at all. They came to sit and defend in a 5-4-1. We then sort of like brave, took the game to them, created the openings, pinned them back, and created the openings. And if you keep creating chance after chance after chance, you stand more chance of scoring goals. Tottenham's game, the way they play, rely on the counter-attack. They've got to be almost like perfect because they ain't going to get that many chances. And then we got that second goal. And then, of course, the Royale sends off, and then we get the third goal, don't we?
I want to break down that third goal. So let's go to the tactical pad. The reason I wanted to talk about it was, I really loved it. I mean, when I saw it going, I thought, that's it. Okay, game, set and match. And even I'm one of the more pessimistic, nervy fans. But what I also love about it is, I mean, let's just play it once through, firstly. Partey and Xhaka with a lovely 1-2. And Martinelli makes this darting run inside here that he actually made a similar one against West Ham, and I think maybe against someone else before Xhaka takes it on and finds a far corner. I just really loved watching. Firstly, let's just take it back to, so it gives it to Partey. So I love this bit where Martinelli darts inside and Partey rolls it into his feet. Martinelli's just running towards, I like basically what I'm trying to say. I like that we attacked them centrally, that we made those runs towards their goal and caused havoc. They left a back 3 at that point. And then Xhaka takes responsibility. Martinelli's dragged Romero all the way with him. Dyer, I actually don't blame Dyer because there's all the confusion sort of in front of him. But Xhaka takes responsibility. Lovely touch. and finishes it. I mean, I never thought I'd see the day Xhaka's taking a touch on the edge of the area, driving past 2 defenders and firing it home. He's got goals in him, Xhaka, in terms of from distance and stuff. But we're seeing him in this completely new role. We've touched on it so many times, great to see that continue.
Yeah, fantastic. What a moment for Granit Xhaka. And a great finish with his left peg. I mean, we talked about the way he delivers great balls into the box. He can shoot as well, can't he?
Oh, yeah.
But the thing I liked about that goal, the way that Martinelli cuts across, takes the Spurs players with him, and that creates the space for Xhaka to take it off him, and then he's able to go into the box and get the shot away. It was really well worked, wasn't it, the way it was worked? I think the funny thing for me was Conte was almost like lining up the changes on the touchline. He didn't get the chance to get the subs on. But people talk about Anthony Taylor killing the hope for Spurs on Saturday with that sending off at 2-1 because they still had...
Killed the hope, didn't kill the game.
Didn't kill the game, killed the hope. But I'll tell you what killed the hope. That was Antonio Conte.
Yeah.
Because what were his changes? He took off his 2 attackers, Song and Richarlison, and brought on defensive players, I think, to literally sort of like hold it more than go and win it.
Yeah, I completely agree.
You know, and I think that he recognised that Arsenal were dominant and they weren't going to get anything out of the game.
Yeah.
And we were so on top in the second half, it was a deserved win.
Agree. Let's go through the closing stats to round it all off. What a performance that was from Arsenal. And listen, you're right. I mean, we didn't recreate that second goal. There wasn't really too much to talk about there. But well played by Bukayo Saka, who I think as well is getting back to his best, that's for sure. And that second half, I thought it looked very dangerous. Closing stats.
Yeah, closing stats, James. Arsenal have now 9 wins from their last 10 competitive games. Arsenal have now scored 20 league goals in their first 8 league games. It took 16 games to achieve that last season. There were 21 passes in the build-up to Thomas Partey's goal, the joint longest passing sequence leading to a goal in the Premier League this season, alongside Fabio Vieira's goal at Brentford. Arsenal have now lost only one of their last 30 Premier League home games against Spurs and have won 8, drawn 4 of the last 12. Arsenal Spurs have seen more penalties than any other Premier League fixture. Do you know that?
That does not surprise me.
How many do you reckon it stands at?
All I know is 95% of them were taken by Harry Kane.
It now stands at 24.
Okay.
Arsenal have drawn just 3 of their last 46 games since the start of last season. Only between April and December 1983 have the Gunners gone longer without a draw in their history. That's 28 games. William Saliba has won more possession than any other defender in the Premier League this season. His 11 v Spurs was the most of any player in the North London derby.
Wow.
Do you know now he hasn't been dribbled past?
Yeah.
In any game this season?
Yeah.
Gabriel Martinelli now has been involved in 46 open play sequences that have ended with their team having a shot at goal this season.
Nice.
Only Kevin De Bruyne has had more. Gabriel Jesus has never lost a Premier League match for Man City or Arsenal, which he has scored in 51 games, 63 goals, no defeats. What an elite record that is.
That is incredible.
He now has 8 goal involvements this season, 5 goals, 3 assists. Only Haaland, 14 goals, 1 assist, has more. He's now only about 8-9 goals behind what was the Golden Boot total for last season, with 30 games to go. I'll dig that one in for Man City fans. Granit Xhaka now has 2 goals and 3 assists in his Premier League season, the same as Mo Salah. Mikel Arteta has never lost against Spurs at the Emirates as a player or a manager. Did you know that?
Wow. No, didn't know
As a
that.
player, played 5, won 3, drew 2. As a manager, played 3, won 3. And the final stat of the day is Tottenham get battered wherever they go. It's not a stat, James, but who cares? North London is red and always will be.
What a way to end it, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this Tactical Insight show, broken down the goals. We've talked about some of the key performances. Let us know in the comment section what you make of some of the players, how they did. Who stood out to you? Granit Xhaka as well, got man of the match on TV. Do you agree with that? There was just so much to love about this Arsenal performance. That's our 7 wins out of 8 in the Premier League. That's 8 out of 9 in all competitions. It's Bodo Glimt on Thursday and it's Liverpool on Sunday. So of course, as always, we'll be back to break that down. We didn't have the usual tactical pad set up because, as I mentioned, big credit to Brennan and Joe, who are just doing amazing work here in the studio, but we will have that back and we'll be able to break that all down as well for you, because we were having fun with that in the previous shows. And if you like what I'm wearing, Air Ramsdale, who, by the way, was brilliant as well in that game. Big save at 0-0. Yeah. Distribution fantastic. Commanded his area. Well done as well to Aaron Ramsdale. If you want to go show support, go pick up a hoodie. You can do that. The link's in the description. I was going to give a link and I was going to say it, but I might be getting it wrong. So just go check it out in the description. Guys, a big thank you. We'll see you on the next one. Well done, Arsenal. North London is red.
Shop for AFTV merch at shop.aftv.co.uk. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat and Twitch. We've got content for every platform, so check it out.